Did you know that only 2% of people will ever achieve a visible six-pack? Here's why. Most people think it's only to do with the diet, but that's only part of the story. Unless you have insane genetics, having the cleanest of diets won't get you to having a visible six-pack. So I'm going to show you how to actually unlock your abs with training and diet advice. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm Lockie, a final year sport and exercise science student at Oxford Brookes University. I've got years of resistance training experience and even more experience and understanding in the field of sports science. And today we're going to break down one of the biggest fitness myths, is that abs are only built in the kitchen. And while obviously it's crucial to cut body fat to see visible abs, abs still need to be trained like any other muscle to actually have them visible. You need to be able to combine proper nutrition with smart, effective training strategies to build the muscles that actually give your abs definition. So it's not just your abs you need to train, it's the muscles surrounding them to make your abs look that even bit better. Because many people don't actually understand the anatomy of abs, what their function is, and how to build them properly. So if you've been dieting without results, or you spent hours doing crunches and got no six-pack, this video will give you real strategies to sculpt them abs you've been looking for. So stick around to find out how diet and training work together to transform your core. So the main challenge is that people believe the widespread myth that dieting alone is enough to reveal your abs. And like I said, if you've got great genetics, like me personally, I've been blessed with some good genetics and I've had abs basically my whole life. But if you don't have them genetics, dieting alone will not reveal the six-pack you're after. And many people believe that if you get lean enough, your abs will just magically appear. But here's the truth, without effective muscle development, really low body fat just leaves you looking flat. And the reality is that most people neglect the training required to reveal the muscles behind a six-pack. So if you do take this procedure and completely neglect training your core, even at low percentages of body fat, your core will not be defined and you won't have that six-pack. Now I know I said before that depending on your genetics will determine whether you have abs or not, but that's not the bottom line. You can completely override your genetics by actually training your abs properly, and I'm going to show you exactly how to do that. Right, so now let's break down what actually works. We all want to know, what are the key elements, what are the really important pieces of advice you should be actually adhering to that are gonna give you that really defined shredded six-pack you see on all the magazines, in all the Baywatch movies, and the abs you want in the summer. So let's jump into the first thing, which is getting down to a low body fat. And now I know I said before that getting down to a low body fat exclusively will not reveal your abs, but also you have to have a low body fat for your abs to appear. So you've got to do both in order for you to actually get a visible six-pack. So abs typically become visible at 10 to 15% for men and 18 to 22% for women. But how can you actually get to that percentage? So using a calorie deficit is essential, but they need to be paired with adequate protein intake of around 1.6 to 2.2 grams per kilogram of body weight to preserve muscle whilst losing fat. And it's important to incorporate strength training and cardio to maximize fat loss without sacrificing muscle. So you know the nutrition required to get visible abs, but how can you actually train them? This is the bit that people struggle with the most because they don't actually understand how the muscles function as a muscle, what they are actually required to go under in order for them to grow. But the bottom line is, training your abs is like training any other muscle group. You need progressive overload, whether that's weight or reps or reduced rest. Generally, it's easier to increase the reps for core exercises than it is the weight, because a lot of them aren't actually weighted besides body weight. And obviously you need to be training your abs consistently whilst using a minimum effective training dose and consistent actual high output. And what I mean by that is you actually need to be training them hard. I know abs can be a relatively difficult muscle to train anyway, because it's right in your core and it's like, you know, it burns, it just doesn't feel comfortable. But you actually do need to train them to the same level that you train every other muscle. But what are the actual exercises that are really good for actually targeting the core and what makes your six-pack visible? So the first exercise is the hanging leg raises. Now this is by far one of my favorite exercises for the actual abs, in particular the lower abdominals, because this targets the lower rectus abdominis and enhances stabilization, and you can progress this by moving 2 toes to bar. So if at the minute you're only doing your reps where you have about 100 degrees at your hip, you should try and go to 90 degrees next week, or then 80, and then 70, and then 60, and so on. And this exercise has been shown to consistently rank as one of the highest activation exercises for the abs. Well, if you don't like doing body weight exercises or you can't hang from a bar, how about a cable crunch? Cable crunches allow for progressive overload in weight, similar to compound lifts like squats, and focus on a slow tempo to maximise time under tension. You then have plank variations, so doing weighted planks and side planks build isometric strength in the transverse abdominis, stabilising your entire core. Ab wheel rollouts are one of the hardest, but one of the best exercises to build both the rectus abdominis and the transverse abdominis through the extended range of motion. And then weighted Russian twists using a throw ball builds oblique strength and rotational stability, which is perfect for balancing your core. And a little pro tip I'd give for training your abs is to train them at least 2 to 3 times a week with the same intensity and grit as you train every other muscle. This is not a muscle you should think, I'll leave it to the end and I'll just, I'll do it just to finish the workout. No, this is part of your workout. Plan it properly, train it properly. So now we know actually how to get to a low body fat and how to train your abs properly. This is where you need to start to understand that you need to use training and nutrition together in combination. They should not be separate, because strength training preserves muscle whilst you're in a calorie deficit, and core workouts sculpt the abs so that when your body fat drops, then your abs are actually visible. But it's important to avoid extremes, as extreme calorie cuts lead to muscle loss, and overtraining can hinder recovery and growth, neither of which you actually want in order to see effective ab growth. So if you were listening to absolutely nothing I just said, what are the 3 most important things to consider when training your abs to get a really defined, shredded six-pack? Number 1 is lower body fat. A lean physique is essential, but don't compromise muscle mass by starving yourself. Aim for sustainable fat loss through a moderate calorie deficit and balanced macronutrient intake. Number 2 is muscle development. Well-developed core muscles are the foundation of a six-pack. Train your abs with intensity, using progressive overload just like you would for your chest or legs. And then a balanced fitness regimen is number 3. Combine compound lifts like squats and deadlifts with ab-specific movements. These compound lifts also engage your core for stabilization, giving you additional muscle activation even when you're not trying to target your abs. So the main takeaway is that abs are a result of low body fat, effective training, and consistency. So if you neglect even one, you'll struggle to achieve the results that you actually want. So let's quickly recap what we've covered. So abs are revealed through low body fat, but they're built through targeted training. Combine exercises like hanging leg raises, cable crunches, and planks with a calorie controlled diet to see results. And while genetics can influence your journey, with consistency, most people can build a visible six-pack. So remember, there are no shortcuts, just smart, sustainable efforts over time. So what's your favorite ab exercise? Or what's a method that you found to work like that for your six-pack? Make sure to let me know in the comments. And if you're not sure whether you should be doing high reps or low reps, take a look at my recent video up in the corner. I break down the whole debate and let you know how you can actually use both to optimize your muscle growth potential. As always, thank you guys for watching. I appreciate it a lot, and I'll catch you in the next video. Peace.